dishes on their menus based on the local ingredient. And the local ingredient this year is sweet potato. The objective is to encourage the consumption of healthy local produce as well as to promote business for local restaurants during the slow season. The last staging was in 2019, and of course everything took a hiatus because of COVID. The Nevis Tasting Showcase for Restaurant Week will be held on Saturday the 16th of July at the MGR Park, Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. A word now for our non-national community. The Premier's Ministry, through its Work Permits Office, is informing all non-nationals residing on Nevis who are in arrears of payment for work permits, annual residency, and visa extensions that an amnesty will be put in place from Friday 1st July until Friday 30th September 2022 for all outstanding amounts owing to the Nevis Island Administration. To encourage these individuals to regularize their status, the penalty for late application of visa extensions will be waived, and no fees will be charged for persons who have been out of status until 2021. Furthermore, the regular fee of $2,500 for work permits will be reduced to $1,000, and the regular fee for annual residence will be reduced to $750. All are asked to note that the regular fees of $600 for temporary residents without work and $500 for resident permit by a marriage remain the same. So there's no concession on those. A flat fee of $1,500 will be charged for all outstanding time in its entirety up to 31st December 2019. There will be no charge for the years 2020 and 2021. Let me just explain that, because that sounds a little confusing. We realize that there have been some persons who have been here and for a variety of reasons are not in compliance. They have gone illegal because they have not come in and done what they're supposed to do. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated that problem. We've also realized that many of them, as we talk to them and as we go on, we listen to people, are saying that they were not aware of previous waivers and previous amnesties that had been granted. And so they're living below the radar, so to speak, on the island. We want people living here to be comfortable. We think that as government, we have an obligation to all who live here. But we also want people who are living here to abide by the law. And that for us is also important. In the past, the government approach to non-nationals was to round them up and deport them. We have taken a different view. We have taken a more humane view. We have taken the position that our non-national community, particularly our Caribbean brothers and sisters, are us and we are them. And therefore, whatever we can do to ensure that they bring themselves within the law, we ought to do it. And that has been our position and a consistent position of the CCM-led government, starting as far as I have been in the political field and certainly continuing now. And that is, I think, the ethos that we've had, because we recognize that many Nevisians live in distant lands. And we would hope that where they live, they are treated with respect, they're treated with courtesy, they're treated humanely. And so what we're saying to those individuals who have been here and have not had a work permit or have not regularized themselves for some years, that we are asking you to come in now and to pay a flat fee of $1,500. So let us say, for example, that you did not have a permit for the last 5 years. I'm just drawing a reference. If you were asked to pay up for that, you would have to pay $2,500 times 5. And that by my math is $12,500. So we're saying we won't do that. Pay a flat fee of $1,500. Get your stamps, get regularized. And then you will not have to pay for 2020 or for 2021. Going forward for 2022, instead of the $2,500, you'll pay $1,000. And for residency, instead of the usual $1,500, you'll pay $750. I don't think that you could ask for a better deal than that. And the reason I'm putting it this way is because I really don't want anybody to tell me that they didn't know, they didn't hear. So non-nationals, please come in and regularize your status. Take advantage of the opportunity to regularize. Get your work permit, get the stamps in your passport, regularize yourself so that you don't have to be going around and nobody can take advantage of you because you don't have your proper status. We are aware and we've had reports of people being underpaid, for example, because they don't have status. And we know because our own people have suffered these types of inhumane treatment in other lands, where people work you and don't want to pay you because they say you don't have status, so you can't do anything about it. We don't want that here. And this is a government that is prepared to work with people. We feel that that is our obligation, particularly, as I said, our Caribbean brothers and sisters. So whether you're from Guyana, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Dominica, wherever you are from, you're living here now, you're contributing here, we want you to come in and regularize your status. So we're asking you to do that and to do that urgently. Now please remember, the reason I said urgently is because this amnesty expires on the 30th of September. So that means come 30th of September, everything goes back to the original price. So we're giving you from July 1st, all of July, all of August, all of September, 3 months for you to come in and get yourselves sorted out. I don't believe I can make a more passionate plea to our non-national community. I don't believe I can make a more passionate plea to our non-national community. and the construction of walls at the intersection area. Notice of road closures and alternate routing will be given to the general public. Also good to announce to the Methodist community that we have started the reconstruction of the stone wall that we had to demolish there to do the road construction there. The welding and body repair shop at Government Garage, that will be substantially completed this week. And we are done essentially with the works at the Netball complex, and I will say a bit more of that later. The department has also been engaging with some road construction at Malcolm Hill, that's in the Prospect area, and we are doing that to bring some relief to persons there in that area. The new fuel depot canopy and dispenser system, those have been successfully installed at the government repair shop. The system was tested by SOL technicians on Friday, 24th of June. The system is ready to be used, but we await the official confirmation from SOL. Work continues at Church Ground on the culvert reconstruction and accompanying road construction project. We apologize again to the residents of Church Ground for the inconvenience, but we are told that this work should be completed by mid-July. The work on the Cotton Ground retaining wall was delayed because we had some design issues and some back and forth, you know, the engineers, the technical team, they were debating that, but I'm told that the contractor has been remobilized and that that work is ongoing, so the relief will come. That, of course, pose a danger to the Cotton Ground community for quite some time, and I would want to thank Latoya Jones, the advisor to the Premier on community matters. She was one who advocated very strongly that that road be done, and thank, of course, Spencer Brandon, the team at Public Works, who responded positively to that call from the Cabinet. The Ministry of Communications has also contracted Mr. Elmos Grant to undertake repairs to the stone wall barrier in the Bowen Bridge in Gingerland. Just about 80 feet of the dilapidated stone wall was rebuilt during the month of April, and that eliminates the hazard. Water. Water is life. And as you know, this government has invested, following on the investments made by the previous government, considerably in water. And that's one thing I would say there should be no debate on. Both governments have really focused heavily on water. I would say our record is better than the previous government, but I must give them credit because they too focused on water during their time. The Bath Village pipe installation commenced on May 10th, and that, as I said, coincides with the Bath reconstruction on the road. Malcolm Hill project I've mentioned, we're doing water works there as well because our approach is wherever we do roads, we put in upgraded water distribution systems. The water storage tank at Zetlands, that work commenced on June 6th. We have removed the old tank and we are now ready for the installation of a brand new water storage tank there. The Nevis Water Department also initiated a water management program which commenced on May 21st. Now that water management program was necessary because of the extensive drought that we've been having. That if areas affected initially were from Maddens to Jessops in the northern section of the island. But to spread the management across the island and to balance the system, we also introduced some water rationing in the southern areas as well, Zion to Cherry Gardens via Beach Road. Please note that the water rationing was relaxed on June 20th on the account of some recent rainfall that we had. And so the system is constantly trying to respond. That doesn't mean we are out of the woods. It's simply telling you that we are responsive. Those at Water Department are looking carefully. When we do get some rains and the system is topped up naturally, then, of course, we relax the water management. We are, however, continuing to appeal to our people to be prudent in their use of water and to conserve as much as possible. The Nevis Labour Department will have a career fair 2022, again at the Malcolm Gishard Park, and this will be from 11 July to 14 July. Skills development and opportunities for a brighter future. That is the theme that they will use. Culturama, Culturama, Culturama. The Caribbean's greatest summer lime. The launch was held on Friday, the 17th June at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. And during that launch, we had the promotional jingle and video for the festival was released. The patron, my good friend, William Zumbai the Guy Doe, was also named, I think, a fitting patron in Mr. Doe. And a number of sponsorship checks were presented during the launch, and committee members were also introduced. As Culturama draws closer, we would have had a reveal party hosted at the David Freeman Center of Excellence on Saturday, the 18th of June. The Miss Culture Swimwear contestants are Miss Solid Waste Management Authority Chantel Leslie, Miss Stella's Engineering Melissa Gums, Miss Caribbean Digital Display Shaquania Jeffers, and Miss Flo Keelia English. Mr. Cool participants, Minister of Agriculture Dylan Smithen, Mr. Nevis Culturama Committee Shanwai Joseph, Mr. Nevis Tourism Authority Dwayne Smith, and Mr. Nevis Cultural Development Foundation Rocco Brown. Rocco, as I said earlier, is a great masquerade dancer, and now we know a great footballer as well. Well, Rocco is coming also for the Mr. Cool competition, so he clearly is a multi-talented youngster. The Miss Culture Swimwear and Mr. Cool contest will be hosted at the Culturama Complex on Tuesday, July 26th. 5 contestants will vie for Miss Culture crown. They are Cynthia Williams, sponsored by Nevlec; Shalise Smitten, sponsored by SL Hosford and Company Limited; Shamali Newton, sponsored by the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank; Shalisa Paris, sponsored by the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation; and Raquel Hendrickson, I hope I said that correctly, sponsored by Flo. The Miss Culture Queen Pageant will be hosted on July 31st at the Cultural Complex. The contestants who will participate in the Talented Youth Pageant will be introduced to the public tomorrow, Friday, July 1st, at Action Corner in the Cotton Ginnery Mall in Charlestown. Currently, members of the press and members of the public, we are aware that individuals are benefiting from a first aid and lifeguard training initiative organized by the Department of Sports in collaboration with the Four Seasons Resort and the Four Seasons Homeowners Association. The training commenced on Tuesday, June 28th, is being facilitated by Brandon and Bryce Bond of the United States, and participants are drawn from Swim to Win, Red Cross, Coast Guard, ferry operators, and persons who deal with aquatic sports. Now, some good news that I want to share, and to invite everyone to the ceremony to mark the reopening of the Mecca of Netball here on Nevis, the brand new refurbished Cicely Grell Hull Doris Stevens Netball Complex. Those words are well put together, brand new refurbished. Well, the newly refurbished Netball Complex, the work that has been done up there is simply incredible. And I really would want people to go out. We know that netball has been on a bit of a hiatus. We've had some games being played in Brownhill. But the Mecca of netball is really that facility that was purpose-built for netball, the Cicely Grell Hull Doris Stevens Netball Complex. Well, we reopened it this afternoon. I'm told that the Netball League is going to start. There will be a march through town, and then it culminates there at 5:30. One and all are asked to come out and be a part of that. Lastly, the Department of Youth, in partnership with Girls Care JA, is currently hosting the first ever St. Kitts and Nevis Girls Climate Summit at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. Girls Care is a feminist climate activist movement that aims to create a space and empower young women to advocate for gender justice in climate action. It has created a membership program for young females throughout the region to aid in enhancing. The Department of Youth, in partnership with Girls Care JA, is currently hosting the first ever St. Kitts and Nevis Girls Climate Summit at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. Girls Care is a feminist climate activist movement that aims to create a space and empower young women to advocate for gender justice in climate action. It has created a membership program for young females throughout the region to aid in enhancing their capacity to help in climate advocacy. 3 of our youth officers were selected to be a part of the 2022 cohort for the Girls Care Mentorship Program, namely Cordesia Walters, Keshana Stapleton, and Aaliyah Powell. As part of their final project, the youth officers have decided to host a summit entitled St. Kitts and Nevis Girls Climate Summit, Conversations on Climate Action and Climate Justice. It brings me, ladies and gentlemen, to the final matter that I would want to raise. And it is a matter that is political, but I think more than being political, it goes to the heart of who we are as a people and as a country. And whilst it is a matter involving the island of St. Kitts, we are one federation, And anything that happens there affects us over here as well. And that has to do with the decision of the Prime Minister, Dr. Harris, or as I like to call him, the former Prime Minister, because he no longer commands a majority of elected representatives. He no longer commands the support. Whatever you want to use to describe him, I like to refer to him as the honorable member for number 7. He would have decided that he would start the construction of a prison on St. Kitts. 300 inmate facility that he took the decision that he would start. Now, I would want the members of the press to be aware that this prison facility was discussed in the cabinet and in fact was approved in the budget of 2021, read by Dr. Harris as Minister of Finance and Prime Minister in December of 2021. And the budget amount for the prison was EC $88 million. To put that in context, US dollars, 32 million US dollars. That was the cost of the prison that came to the cabinet at the federal level and made its way into the budget documents of 2021. At some point, that cost for that prison has ballooned from 88 million EC dollars to somewhere now in the vicinity of 2.5 billion EC dollars. How that has happened, we don't know. But what I will say today is that at 2.5 billion EC dollars, it will be the most expensive prison ever built in the world. It will be the largest and most expensive project ever done in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis. To put it in context for you, 2.5 billion EC dollars is 962 million US. The proposals that we had to build a bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis came out at 400 million US dollars. So this jail is costing more than 2 times the cost of the bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis. To put that in further context for you, we have heard a lot being said that the people of Nevis received 400 million EC dollars over 7 years from citizenship by investment. And many have been saying that that ought to be enough. And that because we have agitated and said that that is not fair, it is not equitable based on what we know the program is earning. And that if we were getting the 25% share based on a population pro rata basis as we had agreed, that Nevis should have had over $1 billion coming to the island. Instead, we got 400 million. And the refrain that we get is that we ought to be grateful. What are we making noise about? And I, as the Premier of Nevis, for standing up, I have been accused of being greedy. All kinds of things have been said. But I would want our people to reflect that the cost of this prison now at $2.5 billion is more than 6 times the EC 400 million that the people of Nevis have received over 7 years. It means, therefore, that one prison in St. Kitts is more than 7 years' worth of receipts for the Nevis Island administration from the Citizenship by Investment program. I will go further. I have in front of me a publicly available document, the 2022 estimates, again from the budget, read in December of 2021 by Dr. Timothy Harris. And those estimates are instructive because it puts the total revenue and grants anticipated for 2022 for the entire federal government at $913,572,857. $913,572,857. It means, therefore, members of the press and members of the public, that this jail is costing more than 2.5 times the entire budget of St. Kitts and Nevis for 2022. And I want you all to think about these things, reflect on them. Because now we're hearing, oh, what's the big issue? It's not costing us anything. And I don't understand this argument about it's not costing us. Because amounts were put into the budget, $88 million. We're now hearing that this project was approved in September last year. Well, it's an interesting thing because the budget was read in December of last year. So you must ask the question, well, if this was approved in September of last year, how is it in the budget of 2021? We have it listed at $88 million. And at what point did the tally move? Did the cost move to 2.5 billion? 27 times as much. And you know, the answer came to us yesterday. If you listened to the press conference that was held, I call it the prison press conference because that is really what it was about, to try and respond, to diffuse this real substantial issue, this elephant in the room of this jail, that they called on Mr. Les Can, who's the CEO of the Citizenship by Investment Unit, to deal with this whole issue. And I thought it instructive because Mr. Can said that we who are talking about the jail are simply multiplying the number of shares, 5,500, by 175,000 US. That is how we are coming up with the number. If you do that 5,500 shares times 175,000 US, you get 962 million US dollars. Times 2.7, that's how you get to the 2.5 billion EC dollars. He says that's wrong. Because the shares will be sold at market price, whatever the market will fetch. Members of the press, I want you all to consider what that means. Because there have been constant accusations and allegations that our Citizenship by Investment program is being bastardized. It's being undersold. Dr. Harris once accused Dr. Douglas as Prime Minister of selling passport like black pudding. Now it looks like we're selling passport like sugar cake. The cost of it, the price of it, mark you, the legislation prescribes what the price should be. But here we had a senior official yesterday admitting that the government essentially accepts, agrees that they are not selling at the prescribed price that the law mandates. And now you start to understand why it is that 5,500 shares were given to these Chinese people to build a jail. Because if they're not selling it at the prescribed price, it means that they're selling it for whatever they could get. So maybe it's 10,000 US, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 20. And they therefore need more shares to try and make up in order to be able to build that prison. That is really what is going on here. That is the scandal that is happening. I'm not even going to get into who can make money off of this jail. Because I noticed that all the presenters skirted and hemmed and hawed. But none of them are talking about who got the contracts, who's doing the site clearing, who's doing the security, who's going to process the applications. Because I'm gathering it's one firm closely associated with those who hold the levers of power in St. Kitts. So ask yourself those questions. Now I'm being told that the cabinet approved the jail. That is the refrain, that is the response. The cabinet approved a lot of things. The jail that I know cabinet approved went into the budget at $88 million. The jail that we are now hearing about is $2.5 billion. So we have to understand why that cost jumped from there, 88 to 2.5. But I would also note for the record that since cabinet business is now public business, and let us all make it public. We took an oath. I am no longer in the cabinet, but I would have thought the oath still bound me. But I hear people saying all who said what in cabinet. We must not allow the record to be distorted because in cabinet we also approved the brand new Basti High School. We approved universal health insurance so that all of you here in this room and all of us who are listening, people who cannot afford to buy insurance for health, that they would have access to health insurance and therefore access to adequate medical care. We all see people who have been going around asking for donations to help them with medical situations. In fact, this government that I lead, this year already, we've already paid out almost $500,000 to assist persons who need medical assistance and cannot afford it. Universal health insurance was intended to solve that problem. We made that decision. We made the decision that the people in St. Kitts, especially those in Keon, because if you all think water condition in Eve is bad, you go to St. Kitts, it's 10 times worse over there. People in places like Keon for years have suffered. And we made the decision that we must explore desalination, we must have drilling for water, so that the people of Keon and the surrounding areas could get some relief. We made the decision for marijuana industry. In fact, it is something we promised our people, that we would develop this industry. Somebody sent me a clip just this morning from one of my favorite friends and MPs, Lisa Hanna in Jamaica, in the opposition making a passionate plea for the marijuana industry, saying that if Jamaica continues to dawdle and delay, by the time they're ready, Jamaican ganja will be no longer any relevance, because you'll have it all around the world. We all know that in any industry, the early movers get benefits. If you come in last, then by the time you come in, what is there? The early shakers and movers, the early innovators, those are the ones who benefit. And we have promised, made decisions in the cabinet, nothing has happened. So you hear how many decisions I told you at Baste High School? Water for Keon, universal health insurance, ganja industry, and I could go on. And I'm asking the fundamental question, why all of those were left at the bottom of the pile, but the jail was pulled up to the top? Why? And nobody seems capable of answering that particular question. Why? How is it that this jail became the priority? And I have said that any country anywhere in the world that prioritizes incarceration over education is a failed state, is a failed government, failed leadership. Any leader that prioritizes incarceration over health is a failed leader. And that has to be taken on board. They talk about what we're doing in Nevis. In Nevis, we're investing in sustainable development. You see where we're opening this afternoon? The new netball complex. Mecca for netball, so that people can go back to playing netball. We're lighting all of our fields in Nevis at the moment. We're investing in the hospital. When that is done, it will be a brand new state-of-the-art facility. Shortly, we will have a 128-slice CT scan machine here. The second in the entire OECS. Grenada just got one 2 months ago. I say all that to say that we are investing in our people in sustainable ways. A jail can't build nobody. Who's the jail intended for? In our closest neighbor, the United States, big brother to the north, they have this notion of an industrial jail complex. Members of the press know what I'm talking about. They build these prisons. Once they build them, what happens? You have to fill them. Because prisons need people in them, you know. For the dance to play, for the lights, they need inmates. Well, who are going to be the inmates? This is a Minister of National Security who has said to us that violent crime is down. The peace program is working. Crime is now the lowest that it has been. So in the response to a lowest crime rate that it has been, a peace program that is working, the response is to build a $2.5 billion jail. Who going into jail? You all remember, you know, there was a proposal, I think it was Cameron, Prime Minister of UK. And he had proposed, I believe, to build a jail in Jamaica. You all remember that, members of the press? So the UK will build a jail in Jamaica, and they're going to send prisoners to Jamaica. So Jamaica will be an offshore prison. Just like they came out with this proposal to take asylum seekers and send them to Rwanda. That's a recent furor in the UK. And I do not know if this jail is intended to house inmates from elsewhere. Maybe as part of this industrial jail complex that Timothy Harris has in his head, he will import prisoners from around the region or around the world. And if he doesn't do that, then who is going to fill that jail? I invite our people to look critically at these matters, because across the world, the people who are in jail are people who are young, people who are black, people who are brown, people who are poor. Those are the people mostly we find in our prisons. In my view, if we had $2.5 billion to spend, if we wanted to generate that amount of money from the sale of our passport, then there are far better projects that we could have done. You hear what I said to you? The bridge cost was 400 million US. Just about $1 billion EC. This jail is going to cost 2.5 times the cost of the bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis. Could you imagine what a bridge will do to generate economic activity, commerce? Could you imagine you land at RLB, you jump in your car and you drive home? Could you imagine Kitchens come over for Culturama, they get on the bridge, they go on home, we go on for music festival, we get on the bridge, we come home. Transformative. Tell me what a jail is going to do. What? At $2.5 billion, I am surmising that that jail must have golf course, spa, several fine dining establishments, tennis courts, certainly a gym or two. And it has to be that that jail will be fully air conditioned. I said the other day, jokingly, that if this jail project at that price were to continue, by next year music festival, I think most of us would prefer to check in there than to check into the Marriott or check into a hotel, because it will have to be a 5-diamond facility at that price. You know, perspective is good. And I got some costing of prisons in the United States. The estimated cost to build an institution varies, they said, in the US between 98 million US and 162 million US. Our jail, remember, was estimated in the budget to cost 88 million EC or 32 million US. So let's deal with US money now. Our jail was estimated in the 2021 budget to cost 32 million US dollars, forgive me. 32 million US dollars or 88 million EC. This document that I have in front of me is telling me that in America, the estimated cost to build a jail varies between 98 million US and 162 million US. And they have examples, you know. They're doing a US penitentiary, high security. One they're doing in Big Sandy, Inez, KY. I was wondering what it meant, but several people told me it meant Kentucky. So Big Sandy, Inez, Kentucky, to hold 1,088 inmates. And the cost, 162 million US. Our jail, to hold 300 inmates, is costing 962 million. 800 million US dollars more than the most expensive jail in America. I think our people need to open their eyes and start to ask these questions. The jail here in Big Sandy, Inez, Kentucky, KY, to house 1,088 inmates is costing the US government $162 million, and that is a high security US penitentiary. And we are telling sensible people in Little St. Kitts and Nevis that to build a 300 inmate facility is costing us 962 million US or 2.5 billion EC. There's a Calypsonian, I think, who said his name was Match Too Hard. And I believe that this match here is way too hard for most of us. There are other prisons here. Bennettsville, South Carolina, to hold 1,280 inmates, 102 million US. Forest City, Arizona, to hold 1,152 inmates, 98 million US. Right? Hurlong, California, To hold 1,280 inmates, 130 million US.